Hi there, I'm Scott from Knime. Let's say you have analytics platform users, or executors, on different operating systems who need to use updated or custom JDBC drivers to access your databases, or Python preferences to run their workflow on the Knime server. Distributing and managing these preferences can sometimes be a challenge, so in this video, we'll show you how they can be centrally managed using Knime server's client profiles. This will make for easier IT operations and provide dependencies for things like drivers and preferences all from one Knime server. Here you see a database connector that we want to set up to pull in data from an Oracle database. Right now it's using a driver we've installed ourselves locally, but we want our users to be in sync with what our Knime server is using and not have to worry about managing this on their own. Let's set up the Knime server so that all our users can retrieve the driver from a central location. I have a Knime server running on a Windows server. All of our client profiles are stored in the workflow repository under the configuration subfolder. Our client profiles are all managed under the client profiles folder, and the client profiles templates folder will contain some templates to create the profiles. I'll click into the client profiles directory. As you can see, there are two profiles here, default and executor, but let's see how we can create one from scratch. The first thing we need to do is create a new directory for our profile. The name of this directory will also be the name of our profile. I'll create a new directory for the Oracle database, but you can give it any descriptive name so it's easier for others to know what it does. We'll want to upload any required drivers, files, or other objects to this directory so that our profile will be easier to manage. I'll upload our Oracle driver here, which is already on my desktop. We'll also need to create a preferences file that defines the settings for our profile. This file needs to have an EPF extension. We can just copy the default EPF from our default profile, so it's the right file extension, and rename it to Oracle. Now, if we know what settings to include in our EPF file, or we grab them from a template, we can go ahead and start editing it with a text editor. But the easiest way to get these settings is from our analytics platform. We can upload our driver to analytics platform by going to Preferences, Knime, Databases, and clicking Add. Here, we'll provide our driver ID, name, and description of Oracle Local so that we know this is our local copy. Set the database type to Oracle. Next, we'll click Add File to upload our driver. Click the Find Driver Classes button to scan for our driver class, then click OK and Apply and Close to save. Let's export these preferences by going to File, Export Preferences. We'll export this to our desktop for now with a file name of preferences.epf. Now, let's find and open the preferences file with a text editor. We can search for the ID that we defined in our preferences previously and copy all of these matching lines to our clipboard, as we'll want to paste them into our server's client profiles, as shown here. One thing we'll need to change is the path to our driver. Right now, it's still pointing to my local desktop's directory. We uploaded the driver to the same directory of the client profile. We can provide a relative path by pasting in this special profile location variable, which lets the server know that this is the same directory where the profile is stored, that is, our Oracle database directory. I'll also change the ID of this to say Oracle Server, so that it's apparent that we're getting the driver from the server. We'll save the file. Now we've set up a client profile. At this point, we need to make sure that both our executors and analytics platform subscribe to this newly created profile. To do this, we'll need to go to the executor directory and edit the appropriate Knime ini file in a text editor. All we have to do is add our new profile to the profile list in a comma-separated list for all the profiles we have. Here I'll add a comma and Oracle. Now we save our changes to Knime ini. Note that the executor does need to restart. As a final step, let's set up our analytics platform to subscribe to the profile too. To set up the analytics platform to read the profile, we need to connect to our server. Let's add our connection information and save. Log into the server by double-clicking on its mount point and providing credentials. We can then open Preferences, Knime, Customization Profiles. We'll check the Enable Server Managed Customization and get a list of profiles available to us. We can select our Oracle database, hit Apply and Close, and restart the analytics platform. If we go to the database settings, we'll see a new driver for Oracle Server that we just created. Now, when we configure our original workflow, we can use the driver we got from the server. In this video, we've shown you how to add a client profile to the Knime server so that we can centrally manage which drivers our analytics platform users and executors can use. This same concept can be applied to things like Python, R, and OS-specific preferences. This method keeps all our drivers and preferences in a centrally managed server to reduce IT overhead and management pains while keeping everything in sync.